At what point did you realize that the business was even for sale?
It wasn't for sale. So what I saw was great product, poorly run company, that equals opportunity. That's why I just called him up one random day. I said, you might want to take my call. You want to hear this. And told him I want to buy the company.
Cliff Kennedy became a 3-location franchise owner of Frios Gourmet Pops in May 2018. 7 months later, he acquired the entire brand when it had 18 brick-and-mortar locations selling their unique gourmet popsicles. But Cliff took the brand in a different direction.
I had an unbelievable opportunity with people I can't talk about because of NDAs, but could have taken us to the next level. It cost me a lot of money and set me back tremendously, and still growing out of it to this day. I took my shot and I missed, and that was in the CPG world. So it kind of makes me throw up in my mouth when I think of CPG anymore.
But Cliff didn't let this setback take down the business. He's since fully converted Frios from brick-and-mortar to a mobile dessert truck franchise. And after growing organically by 24 territories last year, he now has 80 in total and isn't slowing down.
We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Kona Ice has thousands of locations across the country. We are just going to be really, really good at one thing, and that is selling the best product of popsicles. We're going to be the best frozen dessert business there is that's mobile. And we're going to continue to support our franchisees. Like, that's all I got to do.
I know your family is entrepreneurial. So before we get into Frios, what kind of environment did you kind of grow up in, and were you surrounded by when it comes to your family?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family business my entire life. It's my grandfather started our business out of the trunk of his car with an 8th grade education. Like, entrepreneur, always had to work hard for everything he got, and he was a safety guy at this chemical plant, and he couldn't get his safety equipment, so he went and bought some up, sold it to his own place he worked at, and then he said, I made a business out of it. And so ever since I knew, I was sweeping warehouses when I was 5 years old. It was child labor for my grandfather. And then when he passed away, my mom took over the business. She'd been there her entire life as well when they started that. And so my dad's in the business. I've got 3 older brothers. So it was just what I knew was entrepreneurship. We were running a small family business and enjoying every minute of it. So that's kind of what I did, what I knew my entire life. And so I didn't know that his DNA was in me that much that I needed to start my own thing and control my own destiny. But that's kind of where it really landed me with Frios and where we got to today.
When did you decide that you were going to do your own venture versus just stay in the family business?
I loved my parents, talked to them every single day. Loved the business that we were in, but there was always something yearning at me that I couldn't control my own destiny. Like, the decisions I wanted to do for the business, my parents were very happy to keep it going a certain way that wasn't necessarily my vision all the time. And that's a bad thing, but that was my limitation. And I started looking and feeling like, what else could I do? Is it real estate? Because that's what my in-laws are into, or what was it? So I just always knew I needed to find a way to control my own destiny. I didn't know if it was going to be owning my own business or whatever it may be, but that was that impetus at that point when my wife was, they were our 2nd child at that time, getting close to our 3rd. And so I was like, all right, if I want to have this family atmosphere that I really look for and the success that I want for my family, I'm going to have to do this myself. And so then that's when I started looking at opportunities to see what presented itself.
And how long did it take you to find Frios from when you decided, okay, I'm going to go find something of my own?
Frios found me. Every day I'd be miserable getting stuck in traffic, and it's the same road, you got to go up it, it's miserable. And then I just looked over and I'd see all these people that were so happy and they were enjoying Frios Pops at this stand. I was like, all right, let me just try it. Tried the key lime pie pop, and it really wasn't about the flavor. The flavors are amazing that we have of all the flavors, but it's what that pop made me feel. It's happiness. We sell happiness at Frios, and I was like, I wasn't worried about the traffic. I was just enjoying a popsicle on the way home from work at that point. So that's what it was for me in finding Frios and the opportunity that saying, okay, this could be it. You know, I kept trying it and kept trying it. And eventually I was like, there's a business opportunity here. So that's kind of what led me to it.
And how long was your diligence process with the brand before you ultimately became a franchisee? Like, did you have that traffic side popsicle for months and then you're like, actually, wait, let me try this. Let me explore the franchise side of it? Or, yeah, was it a lot quicker than that?
I'd be embarrassed if I admitted the fact that how many I actually ate during the months of just trying and got to know the franchisee who owned the territory pretty well. And so I just kept looking, kept thinking, it's like, what is this? This Popsicles, what could it be? And I talked to the current franchisee and she was kind of telling me about the business and some of the days that she had and weeks and months and all that kind of stuff. And she had a career-changing opportunity for herself, so she was actually looking to get out. And it just kind of put the pieces to the puzzle together. I was like, okay, let me start this kind of like as a side hustle. Let me see how big it is. And so that's when I became a franchisee, probably the course of maybe 5 or 6 months. And then May 1st of 2018 is when I bought her out and became a franchisee for Frios.
Oh, okay. So you acquired your first location. Was there no territory available near you, or did that acquisition just make sense given how close it was geographically?
So the previous owner had a pretty loose way of giving out territory. So she actually owned my entire area where I lived, plus all the way, if you know a map or whatever, where Mobile is, but she owned everything from Mobile to Pensacola. So it was just more of an opportunity. I mean, she had 3 locations opened. So it's just an opportunity to say, okay, let me just go ahead and get this whole market share at one time. And so it was just the infancy of maybe a year of being a franchise company at that time.
Oh, okay. So brand new franchise. All right. And that territory then, you said 3. So is that in the context of Frios? Is that 3 trucks were on the road or just the rights to put 3 trucks on the road?
So at that point, we were when I bought the business, it was all brick and mortar. We had about 18 locations, brick and mortar across the country. We were not even mobile at that time. So yeah, I went straight into a retail business and having to, put people on payroll and hire people and who's working it and the store hours and all this kind of stuff. And I was really like trial by fire and figuring it out really fast. And I learned a lot in a short amount of time from May to August when I reached out to the owners that I want to buy the business. And we can get to the details of why I saw that opportunity. But yeah, it was territory size didn't make sense at that point. Like there was no like, hey, you get 150,000 people. It's like there was, I still have the agreement, but one of the agreements of the other franchisees at that time literally was just a map of a state and a circle and highlighter said this is your territory. So we've since gotten a little bit better at that. But yeah, it's very loose with territories.
Okay. Yeah. That's just, bring out the highlighter and
It
call
really,
it a day,
I
I
still
guess.
have it. It's literally a picture of this map that has just, if you can see, it's not even color printed. It's just literally you can see where the highlighter was.
Yeah. So you did it ultimately around, I think, 6 or 8 months as brick-and-mortar operator then. How did it go? Were the units successful? Were you still only selling Pops at that point as a franchisee?
Yeah,
Or was there
it
other
still
products?
pops and it still pops to this day. It's just, it was brick and mortar. It's very tough to get 1,000 people to come to you rather than you going to them like we can now and being mobile. So I started to quickly identify, wow, there's a lot of carrying cost to this. I'm paying this high school kid or college kid to sit there and look at Instagram and Facebook and while we're waiting for people to come to us. It was also when I bought the business. So I went from May 1st, 2018, called the owner in August of 2018, and then bought the business December 21st of 2018. So it was a whirlwind experience of that. But a couple of years after that, when COVID hit, that's when we completely got out of brick and mortar. It's just the carrying cost was just too great for what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, how does the business come for sale? Because, the punchline is obviously that you acquire the entire brand and you become the franchisor. But at what point did you realize that the business was even for sale?
It wasn't for sale. So what I saw was great product, poorly run company, that equals opportunity. And what I mean by poorly run was our conference calls, like our monthly conference calls with all the franchisees, which was like 18 of us at the time. It was literally, hey, it's hot outside. Y'all buy a lot of Popsicles. See you later. Like, hey, anybody got any good news to share or anything like that. There was no presentations that we have now, which are over an hour long with our franchisees of strategies and everything else. And we all say in franchising, you go in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You've got other franchisees, your support network. We had none of that. I couldn't even get in touch with other franchisees. Like, I didn't know what to do. He's like, oh, you don't need to call these people. You got this. Let me call me and all this kind of stuff. And so I was like really quickly understanding, it's like, this is an amazing product. Like, we have people that are buying multiples of these and eating up to 5 or 7 of these a day. They're that good, but the infrastructure is broken. How we ordered, everything was on the manufacturing side was broken as well. So I was like, that's why I just called him up one random day. He didn't answer my phone call that day. He ended up calling me and I said, you might want to take my call. You want to hear this. And told him I want to buy the company. He said he'd call me back the next day, gave me a number. We started negotiating and, so it was a quick whirlwind experience of franchisee to franchisor.
Yeah, I was going to ask too, like, how are you defining it's a great product? Because it's one thing for you to love the Pops, but it sounds like the customers were also loving it with repeat purchases and all that. As far as though the brand and his founder, how long did he own the business? And I know it was new to franchising, but it would be good to know, like, maybe the history and the origin story of Frios.
Yeah, so he bought this business, like a lot of people get into buying their own business. He was miserable at work, working in a cubicle and everything. He started making Frios Pops out of his garage, just with regular ingredients and everything else, and started going festivals and farm markets. And people really loved the product. And so from that, you ask, it's about the product of being good and why do people like it? It's because the majority of our franchisees, once they try the product, they want to be a part of this company. They want to sell it and bring it to their communities and all that kind of stuff. So we've got tons and tons of stories like, hey, I was at a friends over the weekend or whatever in their city and visiting them, and we tried a Frios and oh my God, it's amazing. I want to bring this back to mine. There's nothing like it. And so that's kind of what we hear a lot, is how good our product is and how it validates for itself. So yeah, it just continue to get better and better with it.
And as far as getting this deal over the line with the founder, how did you go about structuring it? Were you raising money from institutions, friends and family? And had you done a capital raise before in a deal like this, or was this all just you're figuring it out as you go?
I'm flying by the seat of my pants is what I'm doing. It's I'm very lucky to have very smart people around me and with friends and family and everything else on how to structure deals and all that kind of stuff. I'd never bought a business. I've been in my family business my entire life, trying to figure out P&Ls and balance sheets and all this kind of stuff. And then especially buying a company, yeah, it was passing the hat to friends and family and telling them about this opportunity and giving away lots of Frios and saying, man, this could be a really great company, and understanding what was under the hood of what was broken and how it was poorly managed. That's what it was. So it was all friends and family passing the hat, first ever capital raise, but we got it done and secured the funding and bought the company.
And what's the scope of the brand at this point when you become the owner? Like, how many franchisees? Is there a system-wide revenue number that you remember?
It was never shared on like system-wide revenue because we run it much different than everyone else. One of the things that I quickly realized was this company, when I bought it, your royalty was 5% of your revenue, but we're a high cash business. And so I quickly backed into some math, like there's some underreporting maybe going on or something. Something's not adding up. So I quickly fixed the royalty. So I said, don't want to worry about it. Here's the royalty every single month and how we operated the business to kind of clean that up. But when I bought it, like I said, there was about 18 of us, if I remember correctly. And it's different because there's 18 and he sold everything as one territory. Like one person might have 1 million people in their territory. Like that's what he was just selling whatever. And so that is really tough to understand, like what it would be in today's terms. Now being over 100 territories and 80 franchisees across the country, we've had pretty solid, steady growth since 2018 or really 2019 when we started franchising under our leadership.
And did you have the food truck vision or the mobile dessert truck vision when you were acquiring the brand, or did that come after the fact?
It came after the fact. Once I bought the company, right after COVID hit, I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But our franchisees, they started mobilizing. They started pulling their push carts on trailers and going into neighborhoods. And you'd see these people like writing letters to Frios franchisees saying, thank you so much for just this little bit of happiness I can have. And they were writing Frios on sidewalk chalk in their driveways. Like, it was something special. And sitting in my office one day with my ops manager at the time was like, that's it. Like, we need to shut down every brick and mortar. Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Kona Ice has thousands of locations across the country. They're a mobile dessert. We're a mobile dessert. I mean, we're a dessert. Let's go mobile. Let's go to the people. So as bad as COVID was for the world and the country, it was the greatest thing to ever happen for Frios because it made us realize, let's get out of brick and mortar. We need to go to the people rather than them come to us. And it's been the greatest single moment in transition for Frios to really take us off and put us into the future.
What was that process like, though, with existing franchisees, right? Where they already own, they have signed leases, they have their brick and mortar storefronts. Was there pushback, or was it mostly positively received to transition to a food or a mobile truck?
It was very positive. Like the same way, when I bought it, I was like, okay, I got to pay rent on this space. I'm paying an employee to sit there and I don't have people during the day. It's like and it was a great opportunity because a lot of landlords were letting people out of their leases a little earlier and COVID and all that kind of stuff. So the majority of them were able to break their leases, no penalties and all that kind of stuff, get out. And then your carrying costs and your expenses went down tremendously. And then as they got carts and trailers and sweet rides, as we call them, it was just much better. It was a lot easier to manage and operate.
Let's talk about maybe like the infrastructure you came into with post-acquisition. How big of a team did you have? Was it just you as the CEO? And, did you have support already built in from the existing just size of the business? Or were you really doing this from square
Think
one?
of it as like very much of a startup. It was, I had my right-hand guy, and neither one of us had franchising experience. We just knew we had a great product, and we knew we could fix the infrastructure of the company. Like, I'm big thought process, entrepreneur, sales guy. He was more ops, development, Six Sigma. He was doing the manufacturing. Like, I'll never forget one of the things that we quickly realized was he was buying sugar in a certain way and then putting it in like little ninja blenders and blending it up, and we calculated it's like 500 and something man hours and all this kind of stuff to turn sugar into a different form. We're like, let's just buy the sugar in the form we need it to be. It's like immediately saw these expenses drop into the bottom line for us. And so, yeah, we were cutting our teeth every single day trying to figure it out. But the greatest thing I did, Pat, when I first started, I was like, I need to go on a listening tour. I went on the road, got in my car, and started to see all the franchisees at all their locations. It's like, tell me what your problems are. What do you need? What do we need to focus on to get better and all this kind of stuff? And so from that, we were able to come back into the office and like, all right, this is what everyone really needs. This is how we make this company better. It's support, it's market, it's all this. And so that's what we kind of put into play since day one.
Yeah, and so like, how did you though prioritize as a being new to franchising, and then B, just stepping into that CEO position? How do you develop? What was the first year focus? If there are some headlines that you could take away, was it franchise development, or like you said, is it just refining the product? I mean, there's a manufacturing facility, I know, right?
That was the biggest one.
I mean, how do you know there's so many different areas you could pick from, I'd imagine. So like the order though and the sequencing is so critical.
Yeah, so the number one thing we had to do, so the company was founded in Gadsden, Alabama. So the number one thing we knew we had to do was we had to identify a location and build a production facility in Mobile. So we didn't want to keep driving back and forth every week to Gadsden to watch production and oversee manufacturing and all that. There was a team of people that were still up there that were making the product and everything else. They were on board, and I told them immediately, like, hey, look, we're going to be moving this to Mobile. You've all got jobs here. We'll pay you a relocation fee. Some of them took us up. We still have some of them here still working for us today. But that was the biggest thing. So when I bought the company in December of 2018, we quickly identified it, got the team in place, like trying to figure out how do you even build these places? What do we need? All this kind of stuff. We just knew we needed bigger and better. And we built that facility out in July, which I would never suggest do to start a new production facility in your peak season. But again, I had an amazing team of people helping me where we only lost 2 hours of production time that Monday is only because the FDA got stuck in traffic and they were running behind to give us the final approval. So we literally only lost 2 hours of production. I mean, we had a team of people up there in Gadsden. We had 18 wheelers, loaded everything up, brought it all down here, plugged and played, put it in place, and we were producing. So that was really the first undertaking, is make sure we had manufacturing right. And then at that point, you just start peeling back the layers of the onions. Like, okay, what's our lowest hanging fruit? How do we make our franchisees better, whatever it is? How do we give them support? How do we do this? Like, wasn't even really focused on franchise development, so to speak, and like going out there is like, okay, people are finding out about us, they're liking the product. So yeah, it was manufacturing first, and then figuring out from what that listening tour, what the franchise needed, it was support and infrastructure. And so we had to build it up.
Yeah. Can you visually paint us a picture of this manufacturing facility? Like, are you just getting shipments of raw ingredients and there's equipment that's blending it all together, and then I'm imagining like an assembly line of popsicles coming out the other side of it? Like, what does this thing look like?
Yeah, so it's nothing like you see in pictures of like all these major corporations. Like, these are gourmet. These are very much still handmade. So yes, we're bringing in raw ingredients, and then they go to a part of the production floor where we have our mixing team, where they're taking the recipes, they're blending the fruit and all that kind of stuff together, putting them into batches, and then it goes over to the next part of the production room where we have the freezer machines, as you might want to call it, where they're putting them into the molds and they're pulling them out, and then it goes to the next section where they're getting bagged and boxed, and they're going down the conveyor and just getting bagged, and then they box them, and then they go into the freezer.
Fascinating. So yeah,
so I'm not just a franchisor, I'm also a food manufacturer as well. So yes, they are very much in the same, because they are just there and they support each other, but it's having to figure out not only franchising, but I had to figure out food manufacturing and the safety requirements and everything else that are around that. So it's
and even the logistics.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the shipping business too. So
yes, I am.
how many pops are you guys cranking out? Whether, I don't know, if do you have a daily or a weekly number, or even like is there a max capacity?
Yeah, we're doing 15 to 25,000 a day. It just kind of varies on what the flavor is. Is it icy versus creamy? Like, there's different variations of some that freeze faster than others. So there's that volatility in how much we make in a day. So yeah, that's kind of it.
And even though when you took over, I mean, because it sounds like, again, like the first founder maybe didn't have all the processes dialed in. Like, did you have a playbook on the most efficient way to do this? On a certain day, it's one flavor of a popsicle to crank out as many of those as you can? Or we're cranking out 10 different flavors in any given day? But yeah, any improvements there that maybe you remember that made a big difference in as far as your efficiency and output?
So all of that credit goes to Jeff, who used to work with me. That was his area of expertise. Like, he is an operational genius. He started to see all those inefficiencies of, we would place orders over the weekend. How it used to be run was like, it didn't matter what flavors, they were just, everything was open. It didn't matter if it was 1 case, 10 case, or whatever. He was just saying, y'all just make whatever it is they order, and let's just get it out as fast as possible. Like, that was so inefficient. It's like your run times are off and everything else. So the evolution of what Jeff put in place is like, hey, we're going to make this production run, this and this and this. It just made it much easier to scale. And so now we're at a point now where it is hundreds of cases of pops that we make in one long run before we move on to the next flavor. So we are way more efficient than ever before.
Yeah. All right. So you dial in the product, and then I'd imagine like next order of business is restructuring your franchise organization, which includes the franchisee side, as we've talked about, going from brick and mortar to mobile truck. But on the franchisor side, just as far as setting up the incentive structures and the royalties and, everything that goes into designing your franchise system. We've mentioned Kona Ice, which, as of today, or the most recent filing, they have over 1,800 locations. So it's by far the biggest mobile dessert franchise in the country. Did you study that brand or even other, mobile food truck style brands when, again, just kind of structuring your own brand?
Yeah, so once we started to make that transition of mobile, that was the first thing I did. I was like, who's the best in the business? And it's Kona Ice. It still is Kona Ice. I look at them with tons of respect and admiration for what they have built. It's truly amazing. So I was like, let's, as we all say, don't reinvent the wheel, just make it smoother. And so I poured over their FDDs, I poured over their territory size, and that's kind of where I got the fixed royalty rate, because everyone in the industry is a percentage of sales. I was like, okay, they're fixing it for a reason. They don't have an item 19 for a reason. All these different things, like, okay, we're the same. They're just doing shaved ice. We're doing popsicles. So that kind of helped me formulate where we needed to be. Now, Kona Ice has way more resources, and they're a much, much larger company than us, obviously. So, but I have to do what we can within our budgets and everything. So that's kind of where it's kind of started, of looking at all the other brands that are out there that are doing it. But again, we're different because Kona Ice is a food truck. My other competitors, they're all food trucks because they actually are touching food and products. We're an ice cream truck. So our process is much easier and simpler. We got more revenue streams than all of them. So that's where we kind of differentiate ourselves from them and how we sell our brand.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I feel like you can always tell what kind of business the franchisor is truly in by like seeing how they earn money. And most franchisors, right, the royalty stream's always going to be a part of it. But you do, when you pull back the curtain a bit on some brands, you see some different ways that they may be monetizing, right? I mean, there's a trampoline park brand that, there's been a lawsuit with them where it turns out they were selling socks at an insane markup to their own franchisees. Socks, because like they had a retail store where you could buy like kind of these like neon colored clothes. And anyway, that's like a random example. But when you looked at Kona Ice, I think it's a good just benchmark for the audience to understand what the biggest mobile dessert truck franchise looks like. Was there anything besides that fixed rate royalty that you noticed that they were generating some income from?
I don't know back then if I did notice it as much, because I really wasn't worried about like how they're monetizing HQ. I was more curious, like, what are they charging their franchisees? How are they getting this? Obviously now I see a lot of what they've done and the vertical integration of it's all in their FGD, and all of our competitors are. Mine is as well. It's like we're trying to like vertically integrate and help them out even more. And so yeah, it's what Kona Ice has done. It's what we've done in certain ways. It's what everyone has done to try to build their business, to support the franchisees better and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's companies built around, hey, why don't you get all of the stuff that you need at one place for your franchisees and help them out and drive down cost. And that's what at the end of the day is what you're doing. Instead of them going out and going to local places where it might cost a little more, it keeps that brand alliance in. And so some people, we don't have a shirt shop that we're making shirts and selling them or anything like that. We just have the Popsicles.
Yeah. Maybe, I think for, I've looked at, let's say, ice cream truck franchises like a Mr. Softy, or there's some more modern ice cream truck franchises popping up actually that the trucks themselves have a lot of bells and whistles, so that can be a big cost center actually for the franchisee. Mm-hmm. Is that the case with like a Kona Ice, and how does that compare to the way you've designed Frios?
Yeah, I mean, they've got several different renditions of how they have their Kona trucks. They got the bigger version, the smaller version. They got much more like tech-based, like digital menus and all this kind of stuff. When I talk to our franchisees now, it's like, we're just keeping it simple. Like, okay, what happens if the digital, and there's many of my competitors all starting to get digital message boards, all this kind of stuff. Like, that's just something else that breaks. I mean, I feel like everything in today's world and society is like made to break. Like, the last thing I need is somebody going to an event and the message board breaks. So what we have is a magnetic board that has just magnets of the pops. Like, that's easy. It's simple. It's not worrying about all this crazy stuff. Like, so everything I built around is like, see what they're doing, but how can I make it better for the franchisee and not more costly? Would it probably look better if we did digital boards and everything else? Sure, but how much more of a headache is that going to be if something breaks or whatever it may be? So let's just throw some cheap magnets up there that look good, and it's fun. So yeah, we kind of kept it simple. Inside of our sweet rides is literally just a freezer. That's it. Like, you got the freezer at your house, whatever. That's all that's in there. There's no crazy technology things to have or break, or there's no like machines you got to clean up. It's like, that's our big competitive advantage. Like, it's just the modern day ice cream truck.
Yeah, I think maybe talking through the mechanics of that, like as a franchisee, you own a truck, maybe it's a push cart or something else, but I mean, how are you getting the product delivered to you? Like, where are you storing it? Is it on your house? Do you have to rent a commercial refrigerator?
Great question. And it varies from city municipality for each franchisee. Like some will allow them to just have some chest style freezers and put in their garage. Some say, well, it can't be at your house, so they just get a little storage unit that has electricity to it and they put some freezers in there. Some are required to get a commissary and just store freezers in there. So that's a case by case basis. But again, it's not something they need that's massive and all this kind of stuff and a huge expense. So yeah, again, it's a simple system and how they run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, did you have to figure that aspect out, given that before you were shipping to brick and mortar stores? I guess what I'm trying to get at here is more, once the franchisees have the pops, what do they do next? Because I'm going to guess you didn't just say, oh, just go drive around aimlessly like an ice cream truck would do.
Well, we started that because we didn't know what we were doing. We just know we needed to get out of brick and mortar and go. I mean, literally, when I say we were flying by the seat of our pants and figuring it out, but that's what we were, just gunslingers, just going after and like, hey, here's another idea. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, we won't do it again. If it does, we'll double down. So yeah, it was all just figuring it out. Honestly, that's part of just being a part of a startup. You've got to figure things out. You've got to make mistakes along the way. And we made plenty of them. I wish I could take back, but that's part of the learning process, right? So yeah, it's like, okay, we're out of brick and mortar, so where do we store it now? And it's like, okay, let's just go get some freezers that we already have and put them in our garage, or let's go buy, like, we're just trying to figure it out. And we're getting advice from other franchisees. Hey, well, my city says I can't do that. So, okay, well, it's still cheaper to go rent a storage unit rather than pay a lease for 10 years. So it was just constantly evolving and finding the inefficiencies and finding what was the next thing we didn't know. And then let's figure out how to get the answer to it. How do we put this into an operating system? How do we make it better to build more support? So the next franchisees that comes on, hey, here's what you're going to figure out, and here's how we do it with you and support you every step of the way. And we're doing that to this day. Like, we're always trying our best to find a way to make it better, more efficient, more profitable, all those different things for our franchisees.
Yeah. And I want to understand the key revenue drivers here as a franchisee. So I want to like kind of categorize them into buckets, and then we'll talk about each one individually. So I know there's events, there's B2B/wholesale accounts. Mm-hmm. Is there any other categories besides those two, or are those the main two?
There's subcategories within both of those, but no, that's really your two main things. Either events, being a school, a birthday party, or big corporate events, those types of things. So there's a lot of different nuances to that. Or there's wholesale accounts, which is our competitive advantage that our competitors just can't do because they're making a product. They can't wholesale it. We can.
Is there a franchise that's doing gourmet pops that I don't know about? Or is, when you say competitors, it just some other popsicle company that maybe sells into grocery stores?
Yeah, there's a couple of others that are popping up around here.
Oh, interesting.
Some just use commercial brand stuff, like it might be Hershey's, but they're selling like their highest end of Hershey's product or cookie sandwich or something. There is another competitor that same thing, literally the same thing that we do, just a different name. They're doing gourmet pops and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm biased, but I will say that I have talked to very neutral people and say our product is far superior for various reasons. We know how to make the product texture, taste, and feel a certain way that our competitors, I don't think they've figured out yet. So ours is just much better.
Well, yeah, I can attest to the quality. I'm going to pull one out of my fridge in a second here. So we'll do a little taste test of a new flavor.
You gotta be honest though. If you don't like it, you just have to spit it out. This is one of those things where it's like you just fly by the seat of my pants, and I'm gonna figure it out. And if you don't like it, then I'll be like, well, that's maybe just you don't like that flavor. You should have got it. So.
Yeah, it's subjective at the end of the day, right? Well, so let's talk about events though. As a franchisee, you named a few different subcategories. What's the lowest hanging fruit? If I just got my truck, I'm a new franchisee. Where should I focus my time if I'm trying to become a regular at events around my territory?
A lot of people start with birthday parties for kids. It's not the highest volume, but you're getting your name and you're getting the young kids to like the product. And then what always happens, the adults try it, and the adults say, oh, well, I'm going to have this corporate party, whatever it may be. So, and school events, because 9 times out of 10, there's no company like ours inside of a territory that we just sell. They're always like, oh, yeah, I see the opportunity because Kona Ice is there every day. Yeah, Kona Ice is in every city. They've got 1,700 locations, so we're the alternative now. And so they go to schools, they go to sports complexes, like, yeah, we know you've had Kona Ice here, why don't you try us? They're really welcome to having something different besides the same thing every time. But it's also the benefit us with those parties, once you start, like you said, with the low-hanging fruit of birthday parties. It's very important that we get those. But it's also then you kind of level up to the next one, like what's the next big event, okay? Maybe it's a huge school party that has 500 people to it, and, we all know growing up, our parents gave us $5 for whatever was coming in, the new vendor dessert was coming on a Friday or whatever it may be. Now it's Frios Friday, and where the parents are bringing the $5 bills. And it's amazing. We got tons of pictures of franchisees who've done school events, and they're always like, it's always the young kids that just crumple up the $5 bill, and it's like, what do you do with this cash that you're looking at, this all crumpled up money? It's like, you straighten it out, you take it to the bank, but it's all good. But then once you build up that brand awareness is when you get the big events where you're doing 1,000 people at a lunch event for a big corporation or whatever have you, big sports parks. Again, that's our competitive advantage. We can serve 1,000 people in under an hour because we're not making anything. We're just hand it, while our competitors have to make something. So it slows the process down. So they couldn't go serve 1,000 people at a work lunch. We can. So then it just evolves where you get big partnerships. We have companies call us and like, hey, I need 12,000 Popsicles. We're doing this big product launch, whatever it is. And we'll get the franchisees in that area. We'll coordinate with them, and then they'll go work the events. So it's lots of opportunity out there as you start small, and then you just get bigger and bigger events.
In these events, how are you pricing it as a franchisee? Is it always just like an upfront fee based on time, and you just stock up so that you have enough, or do you charge by the pop?
So yeah, it kind of varies. And in the training that they start out with and all of our material that we have, there's a lot of flexibility there. So, you might not charge $50 an hour if someone's going to give you 1,000 pops, because you might retail them at, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8. Like we have a franchisee that's charging $8 a piece and getting those 4 events. So, but then and it's all sales and marketing too. It's like, yeah, we usually charge $200 for delivery fee and all this kind of stuff, but for the size of the event, we're going to waive that. And they'll say, oh, absolutely, thank you so much. So that's how we train them, and what is the customer really looking for at these bigger events, and then how do you present that in a package that resonates with them, that creates value. So there's no static way to do it. We're not a McDonald's that says this hamburger's got to be 99 cents everywhere we go. It really is. It's what the franchisees want. We have some franchisees that sell the pops at a very low price, but they're doing the volume play rather than the margin play. And we have some that charge more because they're the margin play rather than so. But it all works. It's just what is it for you that works.
I gotcha. Wholesale accounts. I think that's a really interesting angle, and one I never expected to hear, frankly, from a mobile dessert concept. Yeah. Can you talk to me about the types of businesses or just accounts that will purchase these?
Yeah, so it is, you get really lucky and get big hotels that have nice sized pools and everything, and then they'll sit there, they need a easy dessert to sell by the poolside or push a cart around themselves. Great locations, or big resorts and stuff like that. Country clubs, where kids just have numbers. All they're doing is selling Frios Pops because it's a better for you product rather than the science projects, as I like to call them, with some of the basic CPG brands. So those are really well. But it's also coffee shops. It's also gas stations, local gas stations that are, more like unique markets and stuff. But it's other food trucks. Like if you think about it, if it's the taco truck is selling tacos, but maybe they need a value add of a really cool dessert, that they just need a little small freezer in there to sell some pops. One of our biggest wholesale accounts when I first started, the other company's since gone out of business, was a yogurt shop. They were like, we just need something different because we're not resonating with everybody. So they used to buy a ton of Popsicles from us as a wholesale account. So tons of opportunity where people just need another SKU for their business. but they're not in the dessert business. And so they need something simple and easy. And so we give them a prepackaged product that's pretty simple.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, these hotels and maybe country clubs, can those turn into a long time just recurring buyers? Because at least for the hotels, there's, I mean, always a new audience of guests, right? So like theoretically, the pops would never go out of style there. So can there be some longevity with some of these accounts?
These accounts I'm talking about, I've had since we've been here, since I started this or became a part of this in 2017.
Damn.
So we have a lot of brand loyalty that these people go back to the same resort, or they go here and they're like, oh, you got Frios, I got to try that or this and that. Everything. Hear it all the time of, I'll get a text like, hey, where are you? What flavor do you have now? So yeah, it's even bars. You know, we had a bar buy a ton of our strawberry mango pop because they turned a regular margarita into what we call a poptail. And so and I call it like adult fun dip, you know, where it's just like now you've got it in the alcohol, whatever it is, and you're eating it, just kind of amplifies that strawberry mango. But, you know, for them, they turn a regular margarita into something fancy. But we have that at weddings too, where people put our orange flavor into champagne for a mimosa, or there's all kind of crazy things that people have made with our popsicles.
It's crazy. It's like just a outcome that I wouldn't have thought of. And how does that work then as the franchisee? Can I get the pop shipped? Like I manage the relationship and all the customer coordination, but you guys ship it from your facility to them, or does it go to the franchisee and then I deliver it
it's
based
both.
on
it's according to what
whatever
size,
timeline?
It's according to what size the wholesale account is. Like some are smaller, some are bigger. It's according to what it is. So if they order certain case quantities that we're just required with our shipping department and everything else, then absolutely. Like a lot of people get these summer camps, and it's a lot easier for us to, instead of us shipping to them and then them taking it over there, we'll just ship it directly to these summer camps and restaurants and hotels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so I take it, do you have a fixed rate with your franchisees for what they buy the pops from you for? And then it's up to the franchisee to mark it up at a desired price point that works for both them and the end account?
Yeah, so every pop has a price because every pop has different ingredients and cost of goods and everything like that.
Sure.
But they're all relatively around the same price. Obviously, some of the crazy ones that we just pulled out of the vault are more expensive, so they charge it's like everything else. If it's a premium product, you're going to charge more. Some of the simpler ones and everything else, less ingredients, they charge less. So, but it all comes down to a certain price for them where they know what they're going to wholesale it for, and they're happy, and everyone else becomes happy.
Just hearing you talk about all the different avenues and ultimately it's like end customer that enjoys the product. Did you ever have the inclination? Because I feel like if I did this, I would have been drawn to like, let's put franchising on the side. Let's just manufacture the hell out of these popsicles and try to get into grocery stores. And that would have been my thinking. I don't know. Did you ever look at that and take a shot?
No, I took a big shot. I took a really big shot. So I looked at it for a while. The industry is surrounded, not just novelties, whatever it is. We all know what private labeling is, where a manufacturing company puts anybody's label on it and they sell it as your own product. Lots of things are. So that's a huge market. I had an unbelievable opportunity with people I can't talk about because of NDAs, but could have taken us to the next level. And unfortunately, I took my shot and it missed. It cost me a lot of money and set me back tremendously, and still growing out of it to this day. But, you know, I took my shot and I missed, and that was in the CPG world. So it kind of makes me throw up in my mouth when I think of CPG anymore. I want to stay what I'm good at. I want to stay with my franchisees, focus on them, focus on making amazing product. But CPG world is cutthroat. It's ruthless. You're all trying to get slotting space in the doors and everything else. So yeah, I'm not going to go back into that space anymore.
Sure. So without, I'm not asking you to breach an NDA or anything, but it sounds like you took a shot like at some type of national.
Yeah, I was going to build a
company with a national footprint.
I can say this. I mean, I had some of the biggest brands and companies in the country and the world needing capacity. Let me back up a little fact here. For the first time ever in America, in the history of frozen novelties are going to outpace ice cream. So think of stick product, all that kind of stuff. So people are never happened before, and it happened last year, that novelties are outpacing ice cream's growth. And so that's been happening for years and years. People, and so it's a capacity issue. Like these machines are very expensive in these manufacturing, and so at some point you run out of capacity. And so I had people saying, "Hey, yeah, if you build this, we'll give you all this." And I had demand for over 1 billion popsicles a year I could have made in various shapes, forms, everything else. Literally 1 billion. And then just had some funding stuff go sideways and everything else, and so the project failed to launch.
Well, I mean, that's the scale of
Yeah.
that. And I mean, I'm just going to say I'm sorry for even pressing on this because it sounds like it's not at the top of your list as far as a conversation. But I do think it's an important part of the story, it sounds like, which is
No, it's given me plenty
so
of
you took a
heartache
swing,
and
like,
waking up
I
in the middle of
assume,
the night and all that kind of stuff over the past couple of years, but I have come to terms with it now. It's not a secret. It was a very public, kind of made the public eye of like, oh, we're doing this big expansion. And I still get asked about like, hey, are you at that new, like, nope, didn't work out, funding and all this kind of stuff kind of fell through, cart and a horse type stuff. But I look back at it
yeah.
as, I took my shot, I missed, and I don't quit. So I just continue to grow out of the money that I had to put up and all this kind of stuff. And that's where we are to this day.
And just to be clear, I assume you were trying to either build or scale up massively for some facility, and that's where
Yeah.
you needed funding and
We were
whatnot
gonna-
to be able to produce potentially up to 1 billion pops a
Yeah,
year.
absolutely. It was at a level that pales in comparison to what we do here. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just saw the people the people I were talking to that they never should have been talking to me, but that was my sign that there is a real need in this space. And so I was like, let's do this. And if it would have worked, it would have
Yeah.
been amazing. I'd be in a much different world right now, but it didn't. So I'm happy though. Everything works out for a reason. Look, it's why if somebody watches, I have this sign that my wife gave me of a Banksy print, "Dream Big Dreams." I took my shot,
Hell yeah. No, I mean, I respect it, man. And it sounds like, too, I know you're in the middle of a fundraise, right? Is part of that related to just like trying to fully put that shot that you took in the rear view and make sure the company's in a more secure position? Now that, to be clear, from my notes from our pre-call, you grew organically by 24 franchisees last year, or at least 24 territories, which is no joke to grow by that much in a single year organically. So you guys are clearly having success in the franchise front, which is super exciting. But yeah, this fundraise, how does that tie in, if it does, to the big shot you took?
Yeah, so it is one of the things that I'm very lucky about and it's kind of like what my grandfather did and what we've always had to do is like, you do the best with what you have if you don't have all the resources. You turn the penny into a dime and a dime into a quarter, and you figure it out. And that's just what is in my DNA. So I'm very lucky that I have my leadership team. They are the grittiest people I've ever met, because when I brought them on, I was like, look, here's the state of the business. We're not going anywhere. We've got backers that we're going to continue to grow, but here's what I've got. I've got this debt. I got this. We're not going to have all these resources that you're going to think that most companies have. But what you do have is me, who is the grittiest person, and I will figure it out. There's always a way. I don't need 30 people on my team. I need one that I'm going to get in that foxhole with, and just that's what we have now. So my leadership team over the past several years is like, we all want more, but we've been able to accomplish significant growth over the past several years with very limited resources, because it's going to pay down debt and going to do the things. We're growing out of it. And so now that I've got my team, I would jump in front of a bus for any one of them, because they mean so much because of what they have put into it, blood, sweat, tears, everything else. They've had opportunities to go to other companies, but they know what we're doing is right, because we're focused on the success of our franchisees. And so that's just something I feel like is kind of unique. So yeah, that capital raise we're now ready we've proven it out with franchising and our growth and everything else. It's time to put a little bit of fuel to that fire. We're going up against the FSOs of the world, and the bigger umbrella companies and portfolio companies that have more resources for marketing. But now that we've got the growth and profitability and everything else and really focused on franchising, my team needs the resources that I know that we can grow. I'm not talking about, I don't need to grow 100 territories a year like you see in the press all the time and everything else. Very easily could we double our growth of 24 to 50 And that's very sustainable because of the simplicity of our operations. And so it's time to add, more capacity, more team members, more just resources. And so getting that slug of capital out there is going to allow us to do that. And there's no doubt about where we're going.
I think it's almost a positive. We just talked about that big shot. I hear it. I'm like, okay, you're kind of in a really good position you have your focus. I think the worst thing that you can hear as an investor is when the person you invested in is trying 4 different things at once. And I get this from, sometimes I get approached by different brands who, we do work with brands on a one-to-one basis occasionally to help them grow. And I remember one time I got on a call with a brand and they're saying, yes, we're going to ramp up franchising efforts. We're also working on a CPG division. We're also working on a food mobile product. And then we're also working on stadiums. And I'm just like, you guys are so new. There's no way you can do all this at once. And, I've become very obsessed with almost I call it the Raising Cane's approach, right? Todd Gray's been selling chicken fingers since 1996, and that's it. Just be really good at something, and you can expand eventually. And in his case, he didn't have to because chicken fingers can sell at the tune of $6.5 million per store. But, I like that. I think you've kind of, not that it was a lack of focus. It just, you found your lane, it sounds like, and it looks like you just want to double down on it.
Yeah, and again, I have franchising business and I have manufacturing business. But that manufacturing business, I saw an opportunity to go into the CPG world, and I just wish I wouldn't have. But I just knew the industry better than I should have. Like, I saw these opportunities, and when I was getting these opportunities brought to me, it's like, why is this? And I kept going further and further. It's like, here it is. And like, literally some of the people that are taking phone calls with me and reaching out to me is like, how is little old FGP Manufacturing, which is my manufacturer, like getting this phone call and this demand, like, it's blowing my mind. And then so I wish I should have just said, nope, I'm happy with franchise, manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we are just going to be really, really good at one thing, and that is selling the best product of popsicles there is. We're going to be the best frozen dessert business there is that's mobile, and we're going to continue to support our franchisees. Like, that's all I got to do, and that's what we've been doing over the past several years since that project, I guess, was 2 years ago. I kind of lose track now. But ever since then, I wake up every single day saying, how am I going to make my franchisees more successful than the day before? That's all I care about.
Well, I think too, in a way, I mean, I know you say that you guys are selling happiness. I think in a world that's getting more and more, chunk by chunk eaten by technology, and now AI is the final boss that's just going to destroy society, according to some people. There is, though, something to be said, right, for being able to provide a positive real world experience. So just on some level, that's what your brand is doing, which is going to become more valuable, in my opinion, over the coming years. But I want to talk about, who do you see as like the type of person or types of people that are becoming your franchisees? Because, I don't say this as a negative. I just think different franchises have a different criteria of franchisee. And, a lot of the guests on my podcast here, our most recent episode was 2 guys who quit their private equity job. They acquired 3 Meineke locations, and they scaled up to 25 in 2 years, and now they're raising a bunch of money to scale up even more. And then the person before that, right, owned 100 Dunkins. Like, these are like the real, empire builders or what have you. I'm going to guess your typical franchisee of Frios isn't necessarily of that mindset. So who do you see, though, coming in, and what is motivating them to be a franchisee here?
That's one of the unique things, and it's every brand. I feel like if you call up a franchise development person in any brand, they're going to like, oh, here's our persona. This person is 35 to 42, and they make this much money. Like, everyone is so dialed in with who that person is and who they target. And they're lucky to have that. It makes it a lot easier. But if you look at everything everyone we have that are franchisees with Frios, you couldn't pinpoint, it'd be impossible to pinpoint anything besides the fact that these people are looking for happiness in their life, flexibility, and an opportunity to grow a business they don't have the millions upon millions of dollars. These are the people that are very blue collar, that just want to go out there and just be happy. And so we have the young couple that, doesn't want to go into corporate America, but they want to start their own business, and they can do that. And that's great. We have the people that want to go into business with their kids. I literally just got off a Meet the Team call, and 2 of the groups, one of the guys is like, oh, I've got my kids. They're 12, 10, and 8. Like, I think this would be fun for us to do as a family and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you're the same way as me. Like, we go to our high school football games, and my 7-year-old son, he doesn't go play with his friends and throw the football. He sprints to the sweet ride, the Frios truck, and works the truck the entire game. Like, it's amazing. Like, he'll come back, he's like, Dad, I got tipped like $60. I was like, great. Or the other dad, he's like, my son's about to graduate college. He wants to be a business owner. This is a great opportunity to teach him the value of a dollar. Or you have the people that are semi-retired, that they don't want to stop working all the time. They want to do something that's easy and fun, and it's nostalgia. They all remember what the ice cream truck was like growing up. It's still around today. So we just want people that are outgoing, want to be involved in their community, have that sales background to them, and that's what we're looking for. And so, yeah, most of them are, but a story was just released. One of my franchisees was invited on a podcast. I mean, he came from the restaurant space where his family, he just sold out of the family business where they had, I think, Nukes and Wendy's locations. I think like 12 or 20 of them or something like that. I forget what the number is. And he said this is the best thing that's ever happened to him. And so he's got 3 territories. So he's going to think bigger picture and grow it out and all that kind of stuff. So we have more franchisees that are like that now, that are seeing that opportunity, that saying, I've done this crazy world before. Like, I want to do this. This is perfect for me.
I could see that. It sounds like there's a lot of people who this might check the box for them. But as far as the upside here, it's of course not a business to just open from like 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, like a brick-and-mortar would be. Like on a day-to-day basis, I would imagine revenue 0 some days because the truck's in the driveway or whatever. But then you have an event all weekend that all of a sudden a ton of money comes in. So yeah, I mean, okay, is there like if you're able to share anything, is there any standout events or accounts as far as how much revenue a single weekend or a single event or some type of, anything that can be brought in just to kind of visualize like what is possible in this? Because I'm not totally sure myself.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. Our item 19 was based off of pop sales because of underreporting and everything else and all this kind of stuff. But we actually, if this conversation was 2 months from now, our new FTD is going to have pop sales. And so it's going to show your single biggest day, which I promise you, when it is released, I'll send it to you. And you are probably going to say a cuss word that you probably didn't realize it could be that big. Of a single day. There's no way that you'd guess what that number is. And then you'll see what those big months are. But you're also going to see it's like we do have people that are very low because they're using this as part-time and not putting in the effort as some of the other people are. So once that comes out, it'll answer a lot of those questions for people. We just need to figure out the way to do it, and I think we've got the best way to show people what their potential is of the opportunity of what a single day could even do.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye out for that. That'll be exciting
We'll
when
do
the
a
new
quick
FTD comes out.
update on it, but yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Once we figure this out, it's like this. We've got to do this. This answers all the questions. That's our biggest drawback. It's like people are like, well, I don't understand how I can make money with this. I was like, in the franchising space, because that's what a lot of your people are. It's like, okay, we have an item 19 that you can back into math. Kona Ice, 1,800 locations, they've never had an item 19. They can't talk about financials. So like, it takes people figuring it all out and like, hey, but you back into a little of that. So that's what it has been a lot. So we're just gonna make it easier so people can actually see it in today's world and all that kind of stuff to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Awesome, man.
I know, it kills me. I wish I could say it. I wish I could say it right now because when I saw the number that when it happened, I was like, oh my God. Like, couldn't believe it.
Well, I mean, I get it. There's disclosure laws. So for folks who aren't familiar, if it's not in the current FTD, you're not able to talk about it. So yeah, we'll have to keep this a secret, I guess, for a few months. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm excited to watch this grow. I think the capital raise is an exciting opportunity. And yeah, once you complete that, I mean, I think you're going to really be able to put the pedal to the metal. As far as, my new closing question that I'm going to be asking every guest, what person or moment has played a big part in your success? It can be in business or in life, but it's, someone who maybe doesn't get the credit that they deserve.
First of all, great question. And this is the easiest one that I can answer today. Without a doubt, it's my wife. The stress that I've been through over the years of taking my shot and missing and, everything that it is her support throughout all of it and seeing me, the amount of stress. In the world of social media now, everybody thinks that business owners are wildly successful and never have bad days and everything is sunshine and rainbows. But in the reality, it's a tremendous amount of stress. There are lots of those days where you're figuring out payroll or whatever it may be in the past and all that kind of stuff and everything. It's like you see it, and like she has to live with me every single day, and it's the stress of life and kids and what I'm bringing to home, and I try to separate it, but she's in it with me. So without a doubt, I can't wait for that day where I can really kind of relax. I'll never relax. It's not in my DNA, but I look forward to the day that I can show her my appreciation for what she has done in some way. I don't know what I'll ever do, but somehow show her the appreciation that she's put up with me for the past 8 years of doing this, that it all will come to a head and she'll see it was all worth it.
Hell yeah. Well, I love that answer, and I'm definitely rooting for you, man. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show, man, and we'll get you back on in the future.
I gotta see it. Can I hold you to it? Are you going to try one of my popsicles? I think you might have some.
Oh, you're right.
I think
you're right.
You might have
Give me a sec.
one. Let's see. It's sorry for people that are listening. It's I just forced Pat to go get a popsicle to try.
You're gonna want to watch this on YouTube, folks, if you're listening to this.
I know. I just said it. I apologize for the delay. If you're gone now, I have to admit, this could fail miserably. You might hate this. I need your honest. That's what. I take my shots. If you don't like it, say you don't like it and be honest. I can live with that.
Well, we got this is the new. It's Nutter Butter is the flavor.
Okay.
So is this a new one that you guys just produced?
We haven't had it in years, and we just brought it back in our vault flavors. But it has real Nutter Butter in there. So once you take a bite, you're gonna bite into a Nutter Butter as well.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm delaying a little bit because these things are so cold, and now I have to bite into it. I should have taken it out to let it thaw out a little bit.
We'll see what happens here. Hopefully you can get it.
Wow, that's good, man. No bullshit. That's good.
You like it?
You can. It tastes like Nutter Butter.
It's got Nutter Butter in there. I hope so. Once you get to that bite.
No, I mean
it might be it's always the toughest is to get it that first bite, but that second bite you might get a bite of that Nutter Butter in there. Yep, there it is. Oh, the cookie's falling out.
You can see the filling.
There it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's good, man. I mean, I didn't know if it was just gonna taste like peanut buttery, but it tastes like an actual Nutter Butter. So
it's a crowd favorite. When we brought it back, we made a lot of people happy. So that's got a loyal following in a lot of neighborhoods.
Yeah, dude, don't take this off the menu. This is good stuff. I like.
You got to make people want stuff to come back. That's why you have to have LTOs, limited time offers. It's there for a short while.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you got to want it when it comes back. We got a lot.
No,
that's what's fun though. It's the innovation. If it's the future of Frios, I know we're done here, but it's that's where we're taking this company into the future. It's the focus of our franchisees and making amazing products. The meeting I was in with my production team, we were just coming up with flavors. I was like, oh, let's try this. I used to have this as a kid, but let's make it in popsicle form. This is going to be absolutely crazy. So it's I can't wait in the next day or two or next week, whatever it is, when they start bringing me the samples. That's what's really cool about my job is that I'll say this in closing. Our number one flavor, blue raspberry, only came about because my son, probably 5 years ago, beat me in a game of paper, rock, scissors or rock, paper, scissors. And he looked over at my production person and was like, hey, I beat my dad. You got to make blue raspberry. Thank God, because now it's our number one flavor. So it's innovation, creativity, just having some fun.
I love it, man. It's great. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of people who've never had a popsicle like this. So there's a lot of demand, a lot of potential for this, man. But yeah, thanks again for coming on the show, man. And that's a pod.
I appreciate it. Thanks as always.